Hello class. Today I'm going to explain how to perform a functional behavioral assessment and how to create a behavior intervention plan. A functional behavioral assessment, or an FBA, is a problem-solving process school social workers can use to address problem behaviors. This process determines the cause of the behavior and then makes an intervention based on this behavior. According to the Center of Effective Collaboration and Practice, an FBA doesn't just focus on the problem behavior. It actually goes more in depth to address the factors that are associated with the occurrence and non-occurrence of the behavior. Understanding why a student behaves a certain way is an effective method of addressing the problem. Functional analysis say the root of all behavior is linked to the desire to escape, avoid, or get something. Behavior is often described as a symptom, which means there's an underlying cause. Let's see. The best way to explain this is just to give an example. Ricky acts out and disrupts class every day. His problem behavior is acting out. The function of his behavior is to get attention. The function of the behavior is not inappropriate. So once you can understand the why or the function of Ricky's behavior, you can teach him replacement behaviors to receive attention without disrupting class. Once a concrete behavior is described, a functional behavioral assessment can begin. People responsible for conducting an FBA vary by the school district, but often they are those with training, including special education teachers, administration, counselors, and school social workers. Members can get together and form a team when conducting an FBA. Here are some techniques for conducting an FBA. Indirect assessment involves interviews with other students and teachers involved with this particular student. Good interview questions are: in what settings do you observe this behavior? Are there settings in which this behavior does not occur? What is an appropriate behavior that might replace this bad behavior? And then when interviewing with the student that has the problem behavior, some good questions are: how are you feeling when you threw your book on the floor? Or what do you think your teacher expects of you? What happens when you throw your temper tantrum? The second step is direct assessment, which involves observing and recording situational factors that surround the problem behavior. This can be recorded a couple ways. One way is using the antecedent behavior consequence approach, or creating a matrix or scatter plot to chart the relationship between the situational variables and behaviors. This stage is helpful in identifying environmental factors that influence behavior. The third step is, once the data is compiled by the team, they analyze it to identify behavioral patterns. The fourth step is when a hypothesis statement is made regarding the function of the behavior. This step identifies the condition under which the behavior is most likely and least likely to occur. Once the data is collected, analyzed, and a hypothesis statement is made, a team can develop a behavior intervention plan for the student. The BIP should include strategies, positive strategies, modifications for the program or curriculum, and different supplementary aids and supports required to address the bad behavior. This is where you as a social worker use your knowledge and the different resources you have learned about. The child's teacher also plays an important role in an FBA and a BIP because the teacher can communicate to the team and to the child the expected behavior. An FBA will identify skills deficits and performance deficits. If a child has a skill deficit, he or she does not know how to perform the desired skill. The FBA will show that a child behaves inappropriate to avoid or escape a situation for which he does not have the skill, and quite possibly believes this behavior is effective in getting what he wants or needs. Often the child does not know what the expectations are, so the BIP can be formulated to teach the child the expectations in concrete terms. For example, when Maria gets called on to read out loud in class and she stumbles on a word, she throws her book on the floor and lays her head on the desk. The functional behavioral assessment shows that the bad behavior is throwing her book on the ground. The function of Maria's behavior is to escape embarrassment. The hypothesis is that Maria is likely to throw her book on the ground when she's called on to read out loud. A BIP for a child with a skill deficit like Maria would look kind of like the following. The goal is during reading class, Maria will keep her books on her desk and read out loud 2 of the 3 times she is asked to do so by her teacher. Objectives: During a 45-minute reading class with 16 students in the room, Maria will read one page out loud once a week for the rest of the grading period. Activities for accomplishing these goals and objectives are: Maria will read out loud alone and to her parents and siblings at home for 15 minutes every night. Maria will stay after school and work with a reading tutor once a week for 30 minutes. Maria will list how she feels when she is called on to read out loud. Maria and her teacher will discuss what is expected of her during reading class, and they will do a role play so Maria can practice sounding out a difficult word instead of throwing her book on the ground. If a child has a performance deficit, he or she may have the skills to perform but lacks the motivation to perform. A BIP will include techniques and strategies to increase motivation to perform these skills. Many times, a child doesn't perform because he or she does not see the value in it. This is more common in older kids. For example, Brandon wants to be a firefighter like his dad when he grows up, so he sees no value in doing well and understanding World War II history. A BIP would involve strategies to increase Brandon's motivation to succeed by demonstrating he must pass history to graduate high school in order to work for the fire department. Lastly, here are a few examples of positive BIPs. Replacing problem behaviors with appropriate behaviors that serve the same or similar function as appropriate ones. Increasing rates of existing appropriate behaviors. Making changes to the environment that eliminate the possibility of engaging in inappropriate behavior. And providing the supports necessary for the child to use the appropriate behaviors. BIPs should always be evaluated by the team to make sure the student is reaching his or her goal, and then modified if necessary. I hope now you have a great grasp of how to conduct a functional behavioral assessment and how to create a behavior intervention plan. So thank you for your time today.